guys are back for another video, and welcome to Tier Maker. Yeah, so I'm doing another one of these videos, guys. If you don't remember, way back in the day when the alpha network was just becoming a thing, I made a video called ranking every pet in Hypixel SkyBlock. Now, the meta's changed quite a lot since then, and a lot of the more niche pets have become way more useful. It's time to right the wrongs of the previous tier list and update it, because there's obviously been a lot more new pets since then. So we have an actual tier list here. So to start off the video, we are going to talk about the bee. The bee pet is honestly not that good. It's one of the first pets that you're able to get in the game, and honestly it's kind of pricey considering that you need to get it from the NPC for like, what is it, 8 enchanted coal blocks, 8 enchanted gold block. I don't remember what it is, but either way, there is no practical use for the bee pet that I could really think of. You do get strength from the hive ability, but I honestly have not heard of anybody really doing it. I think for right now we're gonna give it a D, just because, you know, it's not the worst pet in the world. It does give you strength and I guess a little bit of absorption, but especially for the price, it's really not that useful. Next up is the chicken pet, which reduces your fall damage, which is pretty much useless nowadays with feather falling 10. The extra perk gives you a % chance to drop an egg when you kill a chicken, and mighty chickens makes chicken minions more efficient. Now, chickens stopped being meta a long time ago, like I'm talking a month after pets came out. It's an essential thing if you do want to farm eggs for money, therefore it's not terrible. I'd probably give it a solid C. I would say better than the bee pet, because you can use it to get money, but at the same time eggs are not really meta. But if they ever did become meta, it'd probably be up here. Elephant pet. The stomp ability doesn't matter. Walking fortress doesn't matter. Now the one that you want to look at is trunk efficiency, which grants a chance to get double drops when farming. And oh boy, I think this equates to 40% more double drops. It is easily in S+, without a doubt. One of the best pets in the game, actually, because it's used to make so much money. And yes, I know recently farming's been broken, but I'm confident the admins are gonna fix it. But yeah, this with, for example, right, just to show how OP this guy is, if you were to have farming 50, not even 60, 50, with a maxed out legendary elephant pet, a Newton netherwort hoe, I think it's called, you can make 5 to 6 mil an hour. And this guy plays a big part in that. So elephant pet easily S+. Next up is pig, which is one of the better rideable pets. It's better than horse, I would say, but it really doesn't do much other than trample crops, which I guess could be useful if you're trying to get rid of crops from a specific layer of farm. It's divisive at best. It's not good for any real practical things in the game, so I'm probably gonna put this one actually probably at F, because I'll give it a D because it's pretty useless, but it's not like, it's inoffensive, I guess, so D is fair. To round out the farming category, we have rabbit. Rabbit pet gives you a boost in your jump boost potions, and it gives you speed, as well as a farming XP boost, and you get efficient farming, which makes farming minions work faster. And if that's the case, I know a lot of people use melon minions with diamond spreading, so this could be very helpful for them. Rabbit pet is one of the best pets in the game if you're doing that. I mean, you need it if you're going to be doing if you're going to do melon, but I don't really see much purpose other than that. If you want to get farming levels fast, obviously this is the way to go, but as I said, the elephant is a much better pet for making money. So I think it's a solid A. I think rabbit pet is a good pet to have. It's cheap. It gives you farming XP and more minions, but not quite S. All right, now it's time to go to the mining pets. All right, so first of all, mining pets are great because they're extremely easy to level if you have snow minions. You can basically get them to level 100 like it's nothing. The first one is going to be Bat Pet, which basically is made specifically for Spooky Festival. Now, as far as I know, Spooky isn't really the best of money-making methods, but this pet redeems itself a little bit. You get an increased chance for mobs to drop candy. I can't freaking speak. This seems to be a pretty decent pet for... I can't make the case for spooky fishing, actually, because pretty sure Dolphin would be better for spooky fishing. I don't know. The Bat Pet's not terrible. I'm looking at the wiki page right now. There is an item you can give it. You can get it to Mythic using, what is it? The Vampire Fang, which gives... Oh, it does give sea creature chance. Okay. So, yeah. It's not bad. Actually, yeah, it is the best during Spooky Festival for fishing because it has sonar. It gives you a 25% chance. Okay, yeah. So... Bat Pet is not terrible. It's honestly, it's okay. It's okay. I would say it's the best for fishing during Spooky. So, again, divisive. Spooky Festival isn't quite the best for making money, so I'd give it a solid B. It's less divisive than Chicken, but it's still not really that important. Enderman Pet. Gain XP orbs for breaking endstone and gain a percentage chance to get an extra block drop. So basically double drop chance, but for endstone. And it has Pearl Muncher. Upon picking up an ender pearl, consume it and gain coins. This is an easy F tier. This is the first F tier pet. It's useless. Pearl Muncher does not get you that many coins. You could always just sell to the NPC whatever pearls you pick up in the sack, and no one mines endstone anymore. If you want mining XP, use snow minions or the new mining island. Endermite just got wrecked in the updates. Next up is Rock Pet. Now this one is a personal favorite of mine. I used it to survive in the early game in my hardcore profile, Hardcore Iron Man, because it actually gives a ridiculous amount of defense. So if you're looking to stay alive in the early game, this is a beautiful pet to get, and you're guaranteed to get it by mining ores. Now I think it's 250 ores for a common. Actually, common rock is one of the best versions of Rock Pet just because it's way faster to level up. You don't really need to be able to ride it. I mean, sitting on it, getting XP isn't really that helpful. Just the raw defense and true defense this gives you is really nice. So I would say solid A tier just for the survivability in the early game. Now, that being said, in the late game, it's not that useful. Next up is Silverfish. This one's also a personal favorite of mine because it gives you mining XP, similar to the rabbit with farming XP. The difference is that Silverfish is also somewhat useful for true defense as well. But yeah, it's not bad. I would say not quite as good as the rabbit just because you'd only really use this for fire trial maybe. And even then, there's better options. And in the late game, there's a lot more farming XP you can get. Mining XP is surprisingly easy to get already, so although this is nice, I would almost suggest leveling up other mining pets because you're almost guaranteed to get all of your mining pets to level 100. So it's a really good pet. It's solid, but A tier. Now it's time for the Wither Skeleton Pet. Now this guy is one of the best pets in the game for damage because of Death's Touch. Upon hitting an enemy, inflict the wither effect for a percentage of your damage over 3 seconds. Now this is really good at level 100. Also, you take less damage from skeletons and wither mobs, which is very helpful in floor 7 of the catacombs. It's a very solid pet. You get a really good amount of strength and crit damage as well, and crit chance. So honestly, I would say solid S tier. Now here's the new kid on the block. It's the Mithril Golem. This one was just added as of recording this about a week ago, and he gives you a mining speed boost when mining mithril, and it gives you more mithril powder, and it increases your combat stats by a percentage on mining islands, which basically is helpful for fighting ghosts, but that perk's not important. Getting an epic mithril pet is actually a really good move if you're going for mining. It's not quite up to S tier. I would say another A tier. I have a feeling that A tier is going to be very populated because this guy's only really helpful if you mine in the dwarven mines. Otherwise, it's not really that worth. All right, so now for the biggest category, and that's the combat pets. All right, starting off, Black Cat, which is known for giving a ton of magic find and pet luck. This could be purchased for 2,000 purple candy in the spooky shop. Honestly, it's a very solid pet. That being said, I mean, it's used by a lot of people in the end game because of its ridiculous magic find, and nowadays with the Sorrow armor giving 20 magic find itself, plus the enrichments, plus potions, you can get a really high chance for drops. So I would say, it's not a bad pet. And it gives you pet luck, which means if you craft any other pets, you have a high chance to get legendary. And it increases your speed cap to 600, but that doesn't matter much anymore because farming zealots isn't really that useful. It's a solid pet. S. You know, it's divisive, but it is really nice to have everywhere. So I'll give it an S for now. Maybe we'll demote it later. Ender Dragon pet. At one point, this was known to be the pet that gives you the most damage in the game. It buffs the aspect of the dragon by a certain percentage, which I can't see because the page on the wiki here doesn't show that, but it gives a good amount of damage and strength to the aspect of the dragons, and it increases all stats by a certain percentage, and it deals a percentage damage against end mobs. This is the most expensive pet in the game, and although it is one of the best pets in the game for damage, rivaling the Wither Skelly, its price makes it a pretty terrible option. So honestly, I'm gonna give it a B tier just because of its ridiculous price. Also, aspect of the dragons is not even meta anymore. There's Livid Dagger now. There's the, what is it called? I mean, there's bows. You can't even take advantage of that perk with bows. And there's Giant Sword and the endgame swords in dungeons. Oh, Hyperion, there we go. So yeah, this pet honestly is still really good for damage, but considering its ridiculous price, it's gonna be, B is generous, let's just say that. Then there's Enderman Pen, which is good for crit damage. Now we have to take into account here, Enderman has two sides to it. If you get a common Enderman pet, you're doing really good in the early game. Like, you're gonna be solid with damage. Similar to the rock pet in the early game, an Enderman pet is a great thing to have. That being said, a legendary Enderman is too expensive and summoning eyes are not meta anymore, so I would not recommend it for that. But just for its early game use, if you can get a common Enderman pet, that's going to be your best friend for a long time on early game profiles. So honestly, A tier. Ghoul Pet. This one is an easy one for me. Increases healing, increases the health and range of the zombie sword, and it increases health and lifespan of Reaper Scythe, which sounds pretty good, but it's really not. At best, it would be a healer pet in dungeons, but even then, there's better options. It's a super rare drop, but even if you get the super rare drop, it's worth almost no coins. And because of that, I'm putting it in F. It's just no one uses Ghoul Pets. It almost makes you sad to get it in the crypts because you're just like, oh, rare drop. Oh, it's worth like 5,000 coins. It's pretty bad. Golem Pet is actually pretty solid. Now, the reason why is because of toss. Every 5 hits, throw the enemy into the air and deal a certain percentage damage. I think at one point it was 4 times damage, which is ridiculous. I think people like to use this pet to one-tap dragons along with edible mace. It's pretty solid on damage, and it used to be really expensive on launch, but nowadays it's fairly reasonable. So I'd give it a solid probably still B, because dragons aren't really meta. It's more worth it than Ender Dragon, so I'm going to switch these if I can. There you go. But still not that good. If you want just raw damage, you're better off with a Wither Skelly. All right, now Griffin Pet. This is one of my favorites because it gives you Legendary Constitution, which is a perk that gives you permanent regen 6 or 7 and strength 7. In the early game, especially if you were to have uncommon, this guy's really good because of that perk. And it also gives you strength when you are above a certain amount of health at legendary, I think. This is a really solid pet. In terms of damage as well, if you get it to level 100 legendary, it's actually better than Ender Dragon. I'm going to put it in front of Wither Skelly. It's solid S tier. Horse Pet. This one's fairly simple. It's like a pig pet, but worse. You can save 5,000 coins by glitching into the wolf cave, but that's not a good enough reason to give it anything better than an F. useless. Hound Pet is it used to be pretty useful, but nowadays people ignore it. It gives you an attack speed bonus, which is interesting, and it also gives you the chance to have mobs drop their armor. It also gives you double frags when you're in dungeons, but considering how rare of a drop it is, and you know, it's not that good. Honestly, if you're like in an Iron Man profile, it's nice to have, but the chance of getting one is super rare. Divisive at best is my best way of putting it. I would put it in C tier. It's not that useful. You'd be surprised at my ranking for the Jerry Pet. Actually, not terrible. It's cheap to craft, and I think it gives you damage on the aspect of the Jerry, right? Yeah, it does. Aspect of the Jerry was made meta because of the Jerry Mare, which gives you all sorts of stuff. You get the Jerry's Reforge, which with aspect of the Jerry and a wooden singularity and max enchants, not terrible. And considering it only costs 8 move Jerry spawn eggs and a super enchanted egg to craft, you can get the Sky Legendary easily, and it means free pet score. So for that, I'm gonna give it a D. It's better than Pig and it's better than B, but it's not that good. It's inoffensive, but at the same time, like, no. Magma Cube Pet is another easy one because it gives you, what is it? It buffs Ember armor. It deals damage to slimes, which are all early game, by the way. And it makes slime minions faster, which are really terrible for money. So this one is easily F tier. Yeah, I would say probably even worse than Endermite somehow, but it's pretty bad. Actually, wait, if it's worse than Endermite, it should go here. Yeah. Okay. I would say Ghoul is the least useless, but it's all bad. Phoenix Pet. This guy is a very confused pet because if you were to have, for example, Cookie Buff, then 2 of its perks immediately don't make sense. Magic Bird, you may always fly in your private island, same thing as a cookie. Eternal Coins, don't lose coins on death, also from cookies. Rekindle, before death, become immune and gain strength for X seconds. It's not that good, and it's extremely expensive, and it's one of them. It is the most rare pet in the game, actually, now that I think about it. Even more rare than Ender Dragon, just because it's a random chance from killing any mob. Extremely low chance. I actually got one of these on my own, but it was only epic. That being said, it's just about as it's less useful than this. I would say C tier. You know what? No, I'll promote it to B tier only because it gives a decent amount of strength and intelligence. So it's not as good as an Ender Dragon pet, but it's pretty solid for stats, but it's still extremely rare and not worth it, so B tier. Pigman is surprisingly another good entry on the list. It competes with the Griffin and the Wither Skeleton for damage. I think it even surpasses Ender Dragon if you have a Pigman sword. I don't know, it's close. It's very close. Anyways, it has Giant Slayer, which deals X% more damage to mobs level 100 and up, which is extremely helpful for bosses. I mean, that's when you need that damage most, is against high level stuff. And also, it buffs the Pigman sword and it gives you strength and defense. Very solid pet. Not quite S tier. I would say it's a high A tier. I'm not sure if it's better than the... You know what? No, we're going to promote it. Yeah, S tier, slightly not as good as Wither Skeleton, but still pretty good. Skeleton Horse, I don't even need to explain why this one's bad. It's basically just another horse. Honestly, I'm tempted to just move Pig down there too. It's not really that good. Yeah, you know what? Screw it. We're gonna put Pig down there in F tier as well. Rideable pets are just not that helpful. All right, now for Skeleton Pet. This one is quite a bit better. It's extremely cheap to craft, and it makes all bows better. So if you're doing like Tarantula Slayer and you don't have a Tarantula pet yet, pretty solid. It's good for archer and dungeons, which is a nice thing to have. Also, it gives you a skeleton shot that does 60 times your crit damage when a mob gets close to you, which is pretty cool. Similar to what Necron armor does, actually. So it's a solid pet, but the thing is, there are way better damage pets in general out there, like these 3. So I would say it's a bit more useful than these 2. And considering how cheap it is, yeah, there you go. Snowman Pet is pretty annoying to get, but it also gives a decent amount of strength. it is not that helpful in combat other than that. It fires snowballs, dealing 5 times your strength, I guess, when a mob gets close, similar to skeleton. But I don't know, it's a bit more niche and it's a bit more pricey, so I'd probably put it in the C tier. You know, the strength it gives you isn't bad though, but it's so much easier to get this one especially. Yeah, I'm just gonna put him there. Spider Pet, only really useful if you have spider minions or tarantula minions on your island. Other than that, there's no reason to use this guy, and spider minions and tarantula minions are extremely slow. And although tarantula minions are technically the best in the game, they require hundreds of millions of coins to set up. D tier. And then there's the Spirit Pet, which allows you to shoot a bow when you're dead in dungeons. Also, there's a bug right now that makes it so accidentally you equip the Spirit Pet if you log out as you're dying, which is annoying. So, it's pretty close to useless. Yeah, we're just gonna put that here. It's more useful than the ghoul, I guess. It really isn't, though. No, it's not as useful. Spirit Pet's just annoying. Tarantula Pet. Now, this one is a bit better. It's actually similar to Wolf Pet, which we haven't gotten to yet, except it's really good for tarantulas. I would say solid A tier. Not as much of an A tier as these three, but definitely a good pet. I'd probably put this in front of this. There we go. But Tarantula Pet is good because it gives you combat XP boost for spiders specifically, which is 10% more than the wolf would give you. So very good. Tiger Pet. This one I love because it gives you a 100% ferocity gain, even at epic, which is a very reasonable price, an epic tiger. But at level 100, you get 100% ferocity, which means you basically do double damage. It's actually up here amongst these in terms of usefulness. I would dare say it is in S tier, but also it's better than these two because you just get so much damage out of it. And when paired with werewolf armor, you get a ton of defense as well. So it's a very helpful pet to have, the tiger. And then there's Turtle Pet. You gain immunity to knockback and you get a decent amount of defense. It's not as good as the rock, and it's like 10 times as expensive. D tier. It's not that helpful. I would say it's more helpful than the Spider Pet, but it's not that good. Then again, it might be better than Jerry. But Jerry's really cheap. Yeah, no, Turtle belongs there. Wolf Pet, I don't have to explain why this is good. Combat XP boost, best perk ever. And it gives you crit damage, which is very nice. Easy A tier. I would put it in S, but it doesn't really boost your damage that much. It's just the best pet in the game for combat XP, and it's less divisive than Tarantula. You can use it on anything. Very good for doing revs, for example, to get your combat level up. I'm a big fan of that pet. Zombie, I don't even know what Zombie Pet does. It's along the lines of Ghoul, I think. Chomp gives you health per zombie kill. You deal a percentage more damage to zombies. Increases defense of all undead armor sets. Ugh, that's even worse than Ghoul. Yuck. Zombie Pet's garbage. All right, there we go. We made it through all of the combat pets. Finally, moving on to foraging pets. First off, we have the giraffe, which is not good. It gives you dodge chance, which is basically useless, and it gives you a bit of crit chance, which is not bad, but it kind of is, and it's pretty expensive. So it's, I would say, right there, D tier. All right, Lion Pet is good for damage testing, I would say, because it just gives you a solid amount of strength, but and it's basically first strike in pet form, which is not bad. And it adds damage to your weapons. Pretty solid, but it's pretty pricey. I would say if you want to do damage, Tiger Pet's way better. If you want to get combat XP, this is way better. I'm going to put him in C. It's similar to the Snowman, honestly. I would say it's better than Snowman. Because the thing is, right? First strike is only really helpful if there's a mob with a lot of health that doesn't hit you first and you want to one tap it. but most of the time you're gonna have to put a few hits into some mobs if they're really, really powerful. And the gap is so large now that like just doing more DPS overall is better. So that's what I would do. For example, right, the tiger pet literally doubles your damage, which is more than this. So I would say C tier just because of how expensive it is. Monkey pet. Foraging is one of the worst skills in the game to level up, probably second only to fishing. It's terrible, but that being said, this is the best pet for the worst skill. So foraging, if you want to get it out of the way fast, I would say this is the way to go because it gives you double drop rate for logs, you get speed in the park. But even then, oh, and this is why it's good, it reduces the cooldown of the jungle axe and tree capitator. I would put it at B. This is the only XP boost pet that I would put it B just because of how terrible that skill is. And then there's Ocelot, which is just about the same. It doesn't give you as much XP as the monkey does, surprisingly, because it doesn't give you tree cap speed. So it is worse than monkey, but not by much. Again, foraging pets are terrible. The only good one is lion, but even that, for damage, it's good, but everything else is garbage. I didn't even know how bad foraging pets were. Now that I look at it, it's terrible. All right, now we have the fishing pets, which is going to redeem this list a little bit. The baby Yeti is a very decisive pet, but when paired with something that gives you a lot of strength, it gives you a ton of defense, and it buffs the Yeti Sword, but no one talks about Yeti Sword. Anyway, this is only useful for Ice Shield, which gains, again, your strength as defense. Pretty dang good for dungeons. Basically required if you're going to be a berserker, and for that reason, but it is extremely expensive, which is for that reason I am probably going to put it right here. It's not as good as Wither Skelly, just because Wither Skelly could be used in floor 7 and it's way, way, way cheaper. But in terms of usefulness, Yeti is pretty good. Now, Blue Whale. Now, this one, if you want to survive, this is actually a better option. Now, the reason why, it doesn't depend on your strength. You just get health. The ingest ability makes all potions heal a certain amount percent more health, which isn't really that helpful. It just gives you base health, and there's a perk called Bulk, which gains defense per max health, and the most important one, Archimedes, gain percentage health. Max health. I would put this one as an S+. It's the first time in a while I've done that, but this is the go-to pet for survivability in dungeons floor 7. I run this as a berserker. I don't even need my Yeti anymore. And yeah, it's a good pet, a very, very good pet. Would highly recommend. All right, next up is Dolphin. Fishing is an even worse skill to level up than foraging, but at least when there's events going on like spooky fishing, you can get it done quick. And there's a mare that gives you 50% more fishing XP. I think it's Marina. So if you combine all those factors together and there's a spooky festival during Marina and you have a dolphin pet, then you're chilling. You're doing pretty dang good. Now, the reason for that, it gives you pod tactics, which increases your fishing speed by a percentage for each nearby player. And this adds up extremely fast, making it the best fishing pet in the game. So I would put it right here. I would say actually a bit more useful than silverfish, but not quite as useful as rabbit. Very solid pet. Yeah. And then there's flying fish, which is basically the loner's version of the dolphin because it gives you fishing speed, but you don't need people nearby. That being said, the cap is not as much. Typically, you want to fish with people anyway, so I wouldn't really see the purpose for this other than, I don't know, collection, pet score. Not really that useful. I'm going to put it in C tier. And then there's the Megalodon, which actually might rival Dolphin as the best fishing pet in the game. Its perks are blood scent deals a certain amount of damage extra based on the enemy's missing health. All right, that's not too helpful because most fishing mobs are pretty easy to kill. Enhanced scales increases the stats of shark armor, which is, I think, what makes this the best, one of the best fishing pets. And on kill gain damage and strength, not that helpful. I don't know. This guy's pretty good for fishing, but not as good as Dolphin, I don't think. Also, it's extremely expensive, so I'd probably put it B. So it's better than the Foraging Pets. I think increasing the stats of Shark Armor is the best thing this pet has going, but Shark Armor is extremely expensive as well. A lot of investment just to level up fishing, of all things, which is really not that great. The last fishing pet is the Squid, which gives you a fishing XP boost. Now, this is nice because if you were to have fish minions down, you want to level up your fishing, you could put an XP share on another fishing pet, have this guy out, and bing bang boom, you leveled up 2 pets at once with minions, and you don't have to actually fish. And for that reason, I would say not as good as Megalodon, although it is helpful. Moving on, we have Enchanting Pets. There's only one of them, and it's the Guardian, which is, I think, a rare drop from fishing, but it's also fairly cheap in the auction house. You can get them as let's see, I'm pretty sure you can get the epic ones and still get the enchanting XP boost. Anyways, this pet's a no-brainer, S+, because it just gives you a solid XP boost for enchanting. It's ridiculously cheap. It's not used for anything else. You just have this pet out when you enchant, and as I said, for the price, it just gives you free enchanting XP. You just have to do the minigame less, and there you go, easy level ups. So I would put that in S+. It's just so good for its niche. It's like the go-to pet for what you're doing. I missed Blaze. Oh, I'm sorry, Blaze Pet. Blaze Pet's honestly pretty good with the Blaze armor, but that being said, Frozen Blaze is about the same as Superior, and even Shadow Assassin's better than Superior. And I think Blaze might pull ahead a little bit, but then you have something like Necron, which just blows it out of the water. Blaze Pet used to be one of the best pets in the game, but now it would barely hang on in S. So I would put it in A, probably here. It makes me sad to say that because I actually really like the Blaze Pet, but anyway, yeah. Jellyfish is a healer pet. It's better than Ghoul, but who plays healer in dungeons? Let's be honest, nobody does. And for that reason, it's extremely expensive. I would put it in F. It's the best F tier pet there is. And Parrot, Parrot Pet, how they did you dirty when they added cookies to the game. This used to be one of the best pets in the game. Similar to Guardian, it would make sense to use it with potions, but God Pots are a thing now, which give you every single potion effect in the game for 24 hours, regardless of whether or not you have one. So I'm gonna put it's gonna barely hang on a D. Now the reason for that is in Iron Man profiles, it's still useful with dungeon potions, but that's about it. And then the last pet in this list, you might notice there's a King's Talisman here for some reason. I don't know how that got there. That's not a pet, so I'm just gonna leave it. But the last pet here is Sheep, which every single ability is incredible. Mana Saver reduces the cost of abilities. I think it's by up to 30%, which is awesome. It means cheaper AoE teleports. It means cheaper Hyperion uses. It's great. Honestly, would highly recommend. Overheal gives X% shield after not taking damage. It's okay. And then does a Dungeon Wizard, increase your total mana by X amount while in dungeons, and it gives you intelligence base. It's one of the best pets in the game just because of the enchanting update, which also gives you ability damage per intelligence. It is a really solid pet, especially for the price, which is why I would put it up in the S+ range. And you know what? I think it's better than an elephant just because of the damage you can get with mage weapons. Really, really, really good. All right, so now we're gonna make some final adjustments. I don't know if there are any final adjustments to make, really. You know what? I think Griffin, maybe I can make an S+ because it's one of the best damage pets in the game. You know what? Yeah, we're gonna do that. We're gonna put it right behind there. That looks pretty solid, I would say. There it is. Every pet in Hypixel SkyBlock ranked. Now, I think Tarantula Pet's bugged, but we're just gonna imagine it's not. If it is still bugged, it would probably be F. But, you know, there you go. What do you guys think? I think I did pretty good with this one because now I have a lot of experience with all these pets. I've used almost every single one of them, and I think I get it. I understand. So with that, I guess that's it. So leave your thoughts in the comments below on what you would rate these, and I guess I'll leave the link to this tier list in the description if you want to make your own. Feel free to tweet them at me as well, twitter.com/ThirtyVirus, if you want to show me your tier list. This took about 40 minutes of work to get all this going, but yeah, I'm pretty solid on this. I took into account everything, its usefulness, its price, whatever. All right, well, I guess that's it. So I hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you guys later.